Today's story, Graveyard Rats. Graveyard Rats is a stunning collection. Layers of soil separate ancient burials of atheists and priests, witches and sorcerers. The ground is full of various secrets and treasures. For the brasset, an indifferent chewing tree, it is sustenance, and for humanity, a gift. Two young men discover the burial of an elderly lady dressed in a delicate white dress. Looking at the dead woman, the men note the uniqueness of the jewelry. The crooks remove all the expensive pieces and come out on the surface. Their joy is interrupted by the keeper, who has been hiding behind the tombstone the whole time. He threatens with a pistol and takes all the looted jewels. He introduces himself as Masson, the keeper of the cemetery. Civilization was born after the monkeys stopped stealing graves and became on the path of correction. The keeper fires a shot and drives the crooks out of the cemetery. After the men leave, Masson goes down to the dead woman's grave. The man pulls out a golden wisdom tooth and examines it in detail. The tooth falls into the tomb and hides behind the woman's body. Reaching for it, the keeper is bitten by a cemetery rat. After what happened in the tomb, Masson goes to a local pawn shop to pay off a card debt with jewelry. The customer inspects the merchandise and says that the total value of the jewels is not enough to pay the interest. Masson explains that the graveyard's income has plummeted due to a severe rat epidemic. The wretched animals get to the dead body much faster than Masson has time to inspect the tomb. The customer suggests simply ending the infestation of cemetery rats and speeding up the search for the jewels. Masson proves what is happening with severe bites on his hands, which hurt terribly. The man has taken a lot of patience from the customer, who threatens to end his cooperation. If the debt is not paid, Mr. Masson will have to leave the cemetery business. The man pays a visit to his buddy Keith. At first, the pathologist does not let Masson in, but after several attempts he allows him to enter. They have a long discussion about their business together and go down to the morgue room. The entire room is filled with the corpses of innocent people, among whom Masson once again searches for a new victim. He examines the teeth of each deceased patient, but finds nothing worthwhile. After examining them, Masson notices a secret room hidden behind a curtain. Keith does not let the strange fellow pass, but Masson breaks through. The room houses a new corpse in whose jaw the merchant finds many gold teeth. It turns out that this is a very important exhibit, parts of which are forbidden to touch. The golden body belongs to a stately man whose relatives have come to visit. The peddlers hide behind laboratory flasks and listen intently to the conversation of the stately people. An elderly lady plans to bury the man in his best attire, hang all his medals, and leave a precious bracelet on his arm. Hearing the news makes Masson feel a monetary boost. South Salem Coffin Works. Masson returns home and speculates about the future. He plans to open the casket after the ceremony is over and retrieve the needed jewels. The man again asks for forgiveness from a higher power, for he has done much blasphemy. The roof of his apartment begins to sag considerably. Masson notices a small hole from which a small tail can be seen. Pulling the rat's tail, his apartment is filled with a huge invasion of cemetery monsters. The event that takes place turns out to be nothing more than a hallucination. The frightened salesman goes to confess to the church. The gilded man is buried in the church premises, resting peacefully in his tomb. Masson introduces himself as the keeper of the dead and promises to deliver the man to him in one piece. An elderly woman mourns a dead relative and bids him farewell. At the cemetery, the priests see the dead man off and bury the tomb, which Masson digs up hours later. Upon reaching the tomb, the merchant realizes he is too late. The graveyard rats are once again quicker and have taken the man's body into the burrow. Poor Masson is left with only a shoe, which he manages to tear out. He once again imagines that the tombstone cover is being closed. Having crippled himself, Masson climbs down the rat hole. A few meters down the gorge, the trader spots the man's body, but his path is interrupted by an earthly cliff. After passing under the wall, the merchant manages to get out into the main channel. As he makes his way further, Masson bumps into a sharp branch, which he tries to reach. An impulsive decision leads to the destruction of the surface, and the merchant is buried in the ground. Deep underground, the man is overcome with doubt and develops claustrophobia. After calming down a bit, Masson continues on his way. Loud movements cause the cemetery monsters to activate. A large animal invasion bites off part of Masson's leg. With the sound of a pistol, the trader manages to drive the rat infestation away. Only one rat remains, which Masson quickly kills. The merchant's joy was short-lived, for he had to keep looking for a way out of the tunnel. After looking around, the man notices a huge rat which is nursing an entire infestation. Moments later, the mother rat examines poor Masson. He tries to scare the huge rat away with the sound of his gun, but takes heavy damage. Trying to get out in reverse, Masson forgets about the ground cliff and falls into the abyss. Finding himself in a basement filled with human remains, Masson goes into severe shock. Moments later, the merchant finds several pieces of jewelry, which he collects for sale. After digging through the skulls a bit, the man finds a saber and the promised bracelet. On one of the surviving bodies, the merchant finds a gold piece of jewelry, which he hastens to remove. The body awakens and attacks poor Masson. Having taken the necklace, the man tries to escape. He swears before God again and breaks through to the main passages. Masson tries rather to close the way for the dead body, which continues to pursue the merchant. The rat mother finds Masson again. Armed with his saber, the man tries to pass on, but the rat acts swiftly. At the last moment, Masson manages to pull on a protruding branch and nail the huge rat. It remains to deal with the dead body, which makes its way to the surface. Masson sees a bright exit and tries to get out of the dungeon as quickly as possible. Already in the tomb, Masson's hallucinations come to reality. The roof of the tomb is closed and there is no more exit. The graveyard rats take poor Masson's body and carry him out into the underground passages. The night rascals once again make their way into the tomb to retrieve the jewels. Inside the tomb, the boys recognize a keeper studded with various pieces of jewelry. Touching the body, Masson begins to come to life and releases cemetery rats from his mouth.